Hello and welcome coders to the Sky Coding. This is session 5 of our MySQL tutorial series, and in this session we will cover some advanced level queries related to CRUD operations. And in the previous session we have covered all of the CRUD operations. Basically CRUD full form is just C for create, create, and R for read, and U for update, and after that the last one is delete. Means these all operations we perform on a single table only. CRUD operations we have done in the previous session. Let me show you for the previous session. And guys, I have uploaded these scripts over my GitHub account, or you can join my WhatsApp group as well for getting these scripts. So in this session we will cover some advanced level queries related to table. And so let's get started without wasting any time. First of all, we will see MySQL insert on duplicate key update. Suppose that we have just assigned some primary key in any table, and whenever we are just entering the data which is already present in the table with that same primary key, then it will show you the error. Then we will also tell you that how can you just resolve that type of issue. If you are entering the data, then it will say that duplicate entry. So if you want to just enter the data by in that duplicate key, then how can you enter that data? We will see that thing, and we will see how can you insert and ignore. We will see. Means suppose that some column is not null and that is unique, so how can you enter the same values in both columns? We will see, and we will see the copying data from one table to other, all data or partial columns. So let's get started. And first of all, what is the meaning of this one? So let's write here first. One is insert on duplicate. Let's write here insert on duplicate key update. We will see how can we do that. So whenever we will insert new values into any of the table, and it causes a duplicate row for the unique or primary key column, and it will show you the error message like that way. And if you use this error this function duplicate key update, this is basically a clause in SQL, and it will just update the old row with the new row values which you will give if you are just using this keywords. So let's understand this thing by just creating some separate database and by creating a separate table. And now let's create a table, right? So create, and instead of creating the table, let's copy the metadata from the previous query, right? We have created this employee table, so let's copy this thing from the previous session and let's paste it, because this is just a table metadata which you all know. That's just a simple thing. So chapter 5 is in used now. So create table employee, and we have all of these columns. We have basically done this thing earlier in the previous sessions, so we are not going to describe this thing again and again. So suppose that now I want to define this employee ID as a primary key. So how can you define this employee ID as a primary key? Because for this example we need primary key, insert on duplicate key, right? So that's why let's assign this employee ID as a primary key, unique key. So if you want to assign any column as a primary key, so you have to just write here primary key, and after that you have to write your column name, which column you want to assign as a primary key. So I want to assign this employee ID, so I will just write the name, and after that you have to do this. So let's create the table. So table is just created successfully. Let's refresh the schema, so you can see we got this table and we got columns. So now what we will do, we will just insert some data here, some dummy data. Then we will insert some another data with the same primary key, right? Then we will see. So let's copy this thing, this data we have inserted earlier in the previous session. So we are just copying this thing from previous queries, right? Because to save the time, insert into employee values, and rest all the things will be same. Or if you want to insert one more row, so you can do the same thing as well, right? So let's copy these two queries and let's paste here. These are just a simple queries for just inserting the data. These are all things we have discussed in the previous session. So if you don't know about these CRUD operations, then you can watch my previous sessions for better understanding. So let's give here, let's do some indentation. 10010, let's give ID as 101 and let's give it as 102. So we have all these data. So let's enter this much data. So data is now inserted successfully. So now let's check the data, select asterisk from employee, and you can see we got 100, 101, 102. We got these IDs data. Okay, so suppose that I want to insert another data with the same name, with the same employee ID. Okay, so how can we just do that thing? Okay, so let's copy this much of code, this much of query, and let's paste here. Okay, so basically it is just a updating going on. So update, let me tell you one thing, update. Okay, update, so update is just a combination of a delete and insert. Okay, suppose that there is some data is present in some box. Okay, and you want to just replace that data with some new data. So what you will do, you will first of all remove that older data which is present in that box. You will just remove that, and after that you will insert new data. So removing means you are just first of all deleting the data from that box, and after that you are inserting the new data. So update is just a combination of delete and insert statements. Okay, so first of all we will delete the data, then we will insert the new data. Okay, so update is just a combination of delete and insert. Okay, so let's take for one only. Okay? So now suppose that you want to enter the new data in new row in this same employee table with the same name, and you want to just modify some values, some column values here. Okay, so how can you modify this? Okay, so let's see that thing here. Then you will better understand that thing. Okay, so let's write the query for that thing. Okay, so let's copy this thing and let's paste here. Okay, insert into employee values, and all the things will be same. Let's put the comma, and if you will execute this thing again, then it will just show you the error that duplicate key entry for the value 100, because it is just a primary key, because here I have just specified employee ID as a primary key. So whatever key column is just a primary key, those values cannot be duplicated, because 100 value is already present here, so we cannot enter the new data in that 100 with the same ID. Okay, so 100 is just reserved for this Ranjit, so we cannot do that thing, and we cannot do modifications here. Okay, and if you will execute this thing now, then it will throw you the error. Okay, so let's see that thing. Okay, you can see it is just showing you the error for duplicate entry. You can see here. Okay, whenever you will execute this query, then it will show duplicate entry 100 for key employee dot primary, because it is just a primary key. Okay, that's a simple basic thing. Okay, and suppose that there is a need, you want to just modify the location of Ranjit from Lucknow to Noida or Lucknow to Delhi. Okay, let's take from Lucknow to Delhi. Okay, so if you want to modify the location of Ranjit from Lucknow to Delhi, then how can you just modify that thing? Okay, so let's see that thing, that how can you modify that thing. Okay, for that thing we will just use these keywords, duplicate key update. Okay, so for that what we will write here, we will write a one query, insert into, and my table name is employee, and after that you have to write those column names. Okay, emp id, emp name. Okay, emp name, emp address. Okay, and after that what we are having, emp address, and now we will type values, and after that emp id will be just 100, emp name is Ranjit only, and after that emp address, right? So emp address I want to change to Delhi, so I will write Delhi here. Okay, and after that you have to close this, and now the thing is coming here. Okay, you have to write here on duplicate. Okay, let's correct the spelling for on duplicate key update. Okay, on duplicate key update, you have to write this statement. Okay, so I will just write here emp name is Ranjit. Okay, emp name is Ranjit, and I want to just modify the address. Okay, so emp address, and I want to modify the address to Delhi, right? From Lucknow to Delhi. Okay, and you have to simply put the semicolon here. Okay, okay, now you can just run this thing, then you Ranjit address will be changed from Lucknow to Delhi. Okay, if you will execute this, let's execute, and you can see two rows affected. As I have told you already that this is just a combination of that update is just a combination of delete and insert. So it has first deleted this row, Lucknow, and after that it has inserted the new thing. Okay, so let's check this thing. Okay, let's verify the data, and you can see for the Ranjit we got EMP address as Delhi. Okay, so in this way you can use this statement on duplicate key update to do some updation in that duplicate entry values, and you can just insert the new row in place of that duplicate row. Okay, suppose that here 100 row is already present in our table. Okay, and you want to just modify and you want to insert the new row in place of this thing, then you can use this statement on duplicate key update and you can do any modifications. Okay, so that's all about our this first point, that is insert on duplicate key update. Okay, this you will need in some real time projects when you will work on those projects. Okay, so let's give the separator and let's move to our second point, that is insert ignore. Right, insert ignore, we will check that later on. Insert ignore, yeah, you can see insert ignore is there. Here we will just create one another table, and after that we will just give some unique and not null column properties, and then we will try to just see this thing insert ignore. Okay, insert ignore is there. Okay, sorry for wrong spelling, insert into, this is insert ignore. Okay, so insert ignore statement is just you can say it as a special feature that basically just ignores of some ignore the invalid rows. Okay, whenever we are inserting the some single rows or multiple rows in a table. Okay, then it will just ignore some rows there. Okay, because those rows may be having some errors. Okay, that's why they will be get ignored by MySQL just configuration file, this system file, that MySQL script runner. Okay, so that's a different thing. Okay, insert ignore, we will see how can we just understand. Okay, so for this we will just create a simple another table. Okay, so create table, let's create a one table, create table student. So let's use the auto increment here, and let's declare this id as a primary key. Okay, so if you want to do auto increment, you can do as well. For auto increment you have to just write auto increment in. If you are just doing auto increment, then you don't have to write id again and again, it will be just auto incremented whenever you will insert a new row to that table. Okay, so auto increment, and let's put as a primary key this thing as well. Okay, auto increment primary key, and for the worker you can just use this thing as a default null. Okay, so by default it will be just a null value. Okay, and for the email you can take the email and you can take the city as well. Let's take the email because email is just a unique number, means two emails cannot be same. Whenever you are just moving to the Play Store and you are just getting your email, then by Ajax it will just directly search in the database whenever you are entering your username, and it will just immediately it is just showing that this username is available or this is not available. You can create your email by this username, and the same thing is available in Instagram as well. Whenever you are just selecting your username, then it will just directly checking from the database immediately that this username is available or not, and it is just responding you by the API very soon and very immediately. Right, so in that case email is just a unique thing. Okay, means two users email cannot be same. Okay, so we will take an example for email only. So let's declare this thing as null, as email cannot be null, and let's put as unique as well this thing. Okay, because email is unique for everyone. Okay, and for the city you can put default null or you can leave this thing as it is, and after that let's create the table. Okay, okay, what it is saying, you have error in the SQL syntax. Right, okay, it is just selecting this much as all. Right, so let's now create the table, and you can see table is created successfully. Let's refresh and let's close this, let's open this thing, and you can see we got our this student table, and you can see id is a primary key, auto increment is there. Okay, means whenever if we will not insert the value for id column, then our id will be just by default taken and it will be just auto increment. Okay, so table is created, and let's insert some data. Okay, so insert into student values, insert into student values, and let's insert this much data. Okay, so data is inserted successfully in our table. Let's check and verify the data first. Okay, then we will see the magic of insert ignore statement. Select a step from student and let's check. Okay, you can see we got all of the data. Okay, and now we will just try to insert one more row in this table, student table, and we will just try to insert one more row with same email ID. Okay, so insert into student values and let's give it as 4, and in place of Ankit you can change the name to Sid. Let's put Siddharth. Okay, Siddharth, and let's put the email as it is. Okay, same email. Okay, and let's change the location to Bangalore. Okay, and let's insert one more row. Okay, so let's put the comma is already there. Let's insert and let's paste here. Okay, so let's give it as a id5, and let's change the name to Shivam, and let's change the email to shivam92@gmail.com. let's change the location to comma, and let's remove this thing. Okay, so whenever we will execute this query now, then it will just show you the error that this is Ankit@gmail.com, Ankit92@gmail.com is same, because we specified in the table metadata that email should be not null and email is just a unique, means email could not be same for multiple IDs. Means here Ankit92@gmail.com is email for ID1 for Ankit, then this email cannot be same for another column, as here we are just entering this fourth data where name is Siddharth, and we are just entering the same email which is already present there in the table, as this is the common thing that two emails cannot be same. Okay, every user of email is just having some unique different email IDs. Okay, two email IDs cannot be same. So in the similar way here Ankit92 is already present there, and whenever we will try to insert this thing, then it will throw you the error. Okay, so let's run this and let's see. You can see here. Okay, insert into student values, error code duplicate key, entry at ankit92@gmail.com for student email, because we are just specified this email as a unique key, so that's why it is just showing you the error. Let's check the data in the student column, and you can see we got all these. We have only 3 rows, and these rows data 4 and 5 is not inserted. Okay, because this Ankit92 data is Ankit92@gmail.com is already present in the table. That's why it is just throwing you the error. Okay, so I will tell you how can you just ignore this thing. Okay, so for that this insert ignore statement came into the picture. Okay, so if you want to just enter these datas and you want to just ignore this error, okay, as we use basically this insert ignore statement for just ignoring the errors. Okay, so how can you do this thing? Okay, so for that you have to just write insert ignore. You have to write the ignore keyword here, insert ignore into student values, then it will just ignore these things and it will just insert the data. Okay, so let's run this and let's see whether it's working or not. You can see duplicate key. You can see here one warning is showing that there is a duplicate key, but it has just successfully inserted the data. Let's check the data, and you can see we got all the data. And Shivam92@gmail.com, and the city location is Lucknow. We got this data. Means with this error earlier what we are facing, earlier we are just facing that we are not able to insert this 5th row as well data, because as 5th row is not having any type of error, but still we are not able to inserting this data 5th row, as we are having error in this 4th row, but it is not able to insert this 5th row as well because of this error. So that's why we have just ignored this thing, all of the errors, and where there is no error, then that error will not be checked and this will not terminate the query. It will just skip that thing and it will just insert the another row where there is no error. Okay, so that's why we use this insert ignore statement. As and suppose that in place of this thing, right, in place of this, here we are just having 2 lines of code, and suppose that here we are having 50 100 lines of code, and in suppose that you have 50 lines of queries, and in line number 40 you are having some error, and you will just not able to solve that error, then you can use this insert ignore statement. Then you whatever errors are present, suppose that one error is present at 20 line, one error is present at 25, 26, 27, these lines is having error, so you can use insert ignore statement, then those lines will be just ignored and rest of the data will be just inserted into the table without any error. Okay, so that's why we use this insert ignore statement. Okay, so by this way here one row data, this fifth row data is added and this row is ignored, so by this way you can just ignore the rows, okay, and ignore the data where that error is present. Okay, so you can use this insert ignore statement for just ignoring the errors in the queries. Okay, this will just be very helpful whenever you will work on the big queries, means 100 line of queries, suppose that there are some 100 lines of queries are written. Okay, so it will be helpful in that case. Okay, insert into ignore. Okay, so now we have done this thing, insert into ignore, and now let's see that how can we copy the data. Okay, so let's see for the copy, that is our third thing, copy data from table to table. So how can we copy the data from table to table? Okay, so let's do comment here. Okay, not here, let's do comment here, and let's see, okay, how can you copy the things. Okay, so for that let's create the separate table, as this is employee table, so let's create some different table, employee copy, and let's create. Okay, so we will see employee copy we got. Okay, and in the employee copy we will be not having any of the data, and the metadata of employee copy and employee is just same. So how can you copy the data? Okay, so for that suppose that you want to just copy the data for some analysis purpose. Okay, so let's check, first of all check the data, select asterisk from employee underscore copy. Okay, as you can see in the employee copy we are not having any data. Okay, and if you will check the data in employee table, then we are having this much of data, and I want to copy this whole data from the employee table to this employee copy table. Then how to do this thing? Okay, so for that you have to write a one query, you have to just write here insert. Okay, insert into employee, means on in which table you want to copy the data. I want to copy the data into this employee copy table, and I want to copy the data from which table? Employee table. So I will write the table here. Okay, here which that table name is written from where you want to copy the data, and here you have to write the name of that table in which table you want to copy the data. So I want to copy the data in employee copy table from this employee table. Okay, so whenever you will execute this, it will just copy the data. You can see 3 rows affected, and if you check the data in employee table, then you can see in the employee table we are having 3 rows, and if you will check the data in employee copy table, then also you will be able to see, you can see in the employee copy table we are having the same data as employee table. Okay, so by this way you can just copy the full data. Let's write here for full data, you can copy the full data very simply. Okay, and if you want to copy the data based on some condition, means by using some clauses or something. Okay, based on some condition. Okay, so how can you just do that thing? So for that you have to write the query insert into, and okay, let's first of all truncate this table. Okay, truncate employee copy to remove all of the data, then we will copy again the data here. Okay, so table is truncated, let's check. So in the employee copy we are not having any data now because we have truncated the data. Okay, and let's check the data in employee table. Okay, and in the employee table we are having this much of data, and suppose that you want to just copy the data for based on employee address. Okay, so whatever employees are present in the this daily location, you want the data of those employees only, whose those employees which are present at daily location and or where employee address is Delhi, you want those employees data. So how can you just perform that query? So for that you have to write insert into, and in which table you want to copy. I want to copy in insert employee copy. Employee copy is my table name where I want to copy the data. And now what you will do, suppose that I want to copy just emp name or emp name, I want to copy emp email, emp name, and I want to copy emp address only. Emp address, these two columns I want to copy. Okay, so you have to write select. Okay, you have to write select, and I want to select emp name and emp address. Okay, and emp address, ADDRESS, okay, emp address. Okay, and from where I want to copy, I want to copy from main table, that is employee table. Okay, and you can just execute this thing. Then only these employee name and employee address column will be just selected from this employee table, and only these two columns data will be just stored in this employee copy table. Okay, whenever I will execute this, what it is saying, employee ID does not have a default value. Okay, as in our table metadata we have not specified this as a auto increment, as here we have just defined this as auto increment. Okay, so we have to just write here employee ID as well. Okay, because it is just showing that thing, column mismatch type of thing. Okay, so I will write here insert into employee, copy employee ID, employee name, employee address, and we will just select here emp ID as emp ID column. Okay, so as it is not a default value, right, that's why it is showing the error. Okay, so let's execute this thing. You can see now 3 rows affected, and now let's check the data in employee copy table. Okay, and you will see here we will be getting this data only, employee ID, employee name, and employee address. As you can see here, we have just selected these columns, employee ID, employee name, and employee address. Okay, you can see we got this data. Okay, and rest of the things simply salary all or null. Okay, so we got all these 3 things. Okay, and suppose that you want to put here where clause as well, so you can put where clause as well, where you can write emp address, where emp address is daily, so it will just copy all of the data of those employees where address is daily. Let's truncate and let's run this, and you can see 1 row affected because in our employee table we are having employee address daily for only one employee, that is 100. You can see we got only one data where employee address is daily. Okay, and if you will check the same thing in employee table, then also you can see here we are having employee address as daily for Ranjit and for employee ID1, and this data is only copied into our copy table. Okay, so by this way you can just copy the data based on some condition as well. Okay, so this is all about this session. We have seen about insert on duplicate key update. Whenever you are just specifying as a primary key, then how can you just insert on that, and we have seen that how can we use the insert ignore, because if you will work on some big queries, means 1k 100k queries, then some queries may be having some error. So in place of that you can use insert ignore statement to ignore the errors, and the rest all the queries data will be inserted. Okay, and we have seen how can we copy the data from one table to other table. Okay, so that's we have seen. Okay, and guys, we have done all of the CRUD operation, that is create, read, update, delete. So that's all for today's session. And guys, let me tell you that how can you work on the command line interface. Okay, as I am just working on MySQL workbench, so if you want to work on the command line interface, then also you can work. Okay, so let me tell you that thing. That's just a simple thing. Okay, everyone can work and log in here. Okay, so for that you have to just enter your password which you need, which you are writing just while opening the workbench. Okay, so you have to write the same password here. After that you have to prove the enter. Now it's just connected with the server, and you can just give here commands. Okay, so databases, so it will show all of the database. You can see chapter 4, chapter 5 information, MySQL, and all the databases it has shown. Okay, you can use any of the database, use chapter. Suppose that I want to use chapter 5, so you can use. Okay, and you want to show the table, so tables you can give, and you can see in the chapter 5 we are having 3 tables in 0.5 copy. Okay, so by this way you can use command line interface as well, or you can use this thing MySQL workbench. Okay, so that's all for today's session. Bye, take care of yourself guys, meet you in the session 6. That's all.